outgoing commander and chief and president of the Economic Freedom Fighters.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us on our special edition podcast for our road to the National People's Assembly that is happening in December.
Oh, yeah.
How are you feeling that you're about to end your whole second term? We don't know if we're going to vote for you for the third term.
Well, it has been an exciting journey.
Mm.
The second term, you should know that you now are acting from an experience from the first term.
Mm.
And most of the things are not as challenging as they could have been in the first term, where you now had to demonstrate sustainability, longevity, and demonstrate that you are not just here because of excitement. You are here because there is a fundamental principles that informed the existence of the EFF. So the first term would have been excitement. The second term is more of substance. What do you represent? What is this animal for real? And we are happy we have pushed it until this far.
Your official responsibilities as outlined in the Constitution, because I think it's important that our supporters understand.
Well, the president is like a chief executive officer of the company. You are responsible to ensure that there is a smooth running of the organization on daily basis. You are responsible to pronounce policy positions on behalf of the organization. You are a signatory to any binding contracts which involves the organization. And you have a duty to ensure that all those who are assigned responsibilities execute those responsibilities to the best of their ability. And more than anything, in the central command team, you give a political overview. So the role of the political overview is to really present where we are at the current moment and where are we going. What are the local balance of forces? What are the international balance of forces? Are the balance of forces in favor of what you are pursuing, which is the revolution, or the balance of forces are against? And who are the role players who make the balance of forces to tilt both in your favor or against you? And you do that consistently to keep the leadership politically informed of what are the developments, both locally and internationally. Not only politics, the social welfare for our people and the economic development of our country and the international economy as well.
So you're very good, President, at giving your political overviews, and I think that is something as Central Command team members we always look forward to. Don't be so modest.
Thank you. What do you mean?
So, but what to talk us through that process of, okay, this CCT, what direction do I want to give, and even how you present it. And
So
I'm not
what-
trying to buy face.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
saying it is something that we do look forward to in.
So if you look, for instance, we just from American elections. So your overview will have to now, incorporate that to explain to the leadership as to what does Trump's victory mean for the international community and for South Africa, because South Africa has got some relationship with America. So we ought to know from his ideological and political perspective, what are his views about South Africa and Africa, and what does this victory mean? And then you have to deal with the preparations of the, for instance, the National People's Assembly, that politically, these are the issues that have taken place. To what extent have we succeeded in the preparations? Because the CCT we're going to, for instance, is the last, if not the second last. So you have to prepare the leadership as to what were the political preparations before, what are the conditions now, and what is the possible outcome at the National People's Assembly. Do you foresee any danger or any other thing that is threatening the stability of the organization or the success of the NPA and things like that? Yeah.
Okay, talk about what don't you like particularly. We know you excel at everything. But what is it that's the one thing, President, that you like? Yeah, this one I got. Like,
Well, I
I can
mean,
have-
I'm an all-rounder. So there isn't anything that necessarily irritate me. I just don't like dishonest people.
yeah, we know.
Because I'm forthright with my views, and I'm the kind that always says, but speak good about others and the leadership and the organization in private so that you don't have a difficulty speaking good about the organization in public, because if you are dishonest and you lie a lot in private, when you go take a public platform, those people that know your genuine views are likely to say, but who's this now? Who's speaking now? And all of that. So I should be able to, be honest with you, especially if we say we are comrades, we're brothers and sisters, because comradeship means brothers and sisters in struggle, means friends in struggle. I had someone saying brotherhood means gangsterism. Only those who come from a background of gangsterism will know. I've never chased my principal with a knife when I was still at high school, so I wouldn't know what gangsterism means. But I know brotherhood, comradeship, to be exactly that, that we were open to each other, we're honest to each other, we express our views genuinely and openly. It doesn't matter how robust the other side can come across, but you have expressed your view. And in their safe space, when they are alone, they will be able to make reflections of what was he saying actually, because it doesn't look like I paid attention. I always tell my wife that you guys don't use your power, because we don't have to agree with you or pretend to be listening, but you must know we are listening. So once it comes out of your mouth, you must know it landed in his ears. Whatever he does with it is his own problem. So never shy away from saying it, because they will know what you think and they will be able to make
So why
such
don't you just
reflections.
acknowledge, yeah, I heard you, I'm thinking about it. Or just have a... Because you do that quite well, President.
Well,
Then later on, you're like, so he did hear what I said when I dropped things.
Absolutely. It's like saying to me, when I come to you to apologize and I do it in a Sello township, when you say, why can't you say you apologize? It's apology of a thug. There's a way we do it without having to lose ourselves and feel like we're
You must read
undermined
the room,
properly.
yeah.
So you go like, no, okay. No, I don't want such things. What. And then when you're alone, you're like, no. It looks like there is a point there. So the power is in saying it. No, don't hold back, because you're going to tell it to your boyfriend, you're going to tell it to your husband, you're going to tell it to anyone that you feel safe with. And you know how we're going to know how you feel? These people around you are going to start treating us like bad people. Because when you're with them, you make honest reflections about us, but you never tell us. And we don't know how you feel about us, about this. So I'm an open book. When I don't agree, I don't pretend. I don't even wait for you to finish. I go like, and then I stop after realizing, no, this person must finish the point. Then I keep quiet, and then you finish. Then I respond. So there's no way you can become better as you grow, because you come to realize that some people don't mean bad. They, some act from position of ignorance. Some act because there isn't much information shared with them. Some are genuinely better on this issue than you. And as you grow into this thing, you come to accept that we are not always right. We have to listen to other people, and we have to take into consideration the views of other people. If it was not of us listening to each other, this organization would have died a long time ago. The other thing that I despise with everything is laziness.
Yeah.
I don't like lazy people who can execute the simplest task. And I'm also a very much of a clean person.
Yeah, we know.
So I can't walk into a space where there's a mess and all of that. So the mind stops. So if you ask me anything, I will be asking you, okay, why can't we remove these things? Why can't we clean here and all of that? There are times where I just walk around the office here and I go to the toilets. Our office is effectively a public office because everybody comes here to raise complaints. I go around to check if we've maintained the cleanness of the office, the order in the office. And then one day, when we started operating from this office, as I walk around, I find at the main entrance, someone went to cut a big card box and put at the main entrance. So I'm asking, what is this thing for now? They say, no, it was raining. When people come in, they must clean their feet there before they come in.
On
I'm
cardboard.
like, yeah. And I said, no, but it can't be. There are huge carpets of the EFF with the UFF
those nice
logo.
ones, yeah.
Why are you not putting them here? They couldn't explain. I called TG. TG says, there are carpets there by the door. What do you mean? I said, no, come and see. There are no carpets. So this public we are receiving gets into that kind of an environment, which is not welcoming. So if you respect yourself, you'll respect people. Because I also don't understand why would civil servants, if you want to know this building belongs to government, you see it through the untidiness. So huge grass. It's only some passage where they drive into the building. Otherwise, the paving is not maintained. The building is not maintained. When you enter the building, the ceiling is falling. And under that falling ceiling, there are adults who are sitting there. I'm like, why would adults sit under such a ceiling and not do anything? From the workers' rights, I mean, to demand that we cannot work under this environment. Then it forces the bosses to maintain the buildings and all of that. And that's why I was very fond of Andries Tatan campaign, because it was about cleaning after our communities. And we went to clean one day in Tawazimbi. And there's an old woman who came, wanted to come and thank me. But it was now starting to be dark, and they were saying, no, stop, you can't go there. But she insisted. I said, no, let her come. Then she said, no, Malema, I wanted to thank you because this dirt has been piling here next to my house since I arrived here, to an extent that I didn't see it as a dirt. It was part of my life. So now that you have removed all of this and there's a fresh air coming, but I also realized there's something missing, because I thought this is part of here. And that is what cleanness is about. So I really don't take very kind. My grandmother used to say to me, hey, the way you like the clean environment, you're going to marry a person who's not clean the way you want.
Thank God.
And then I said to her, No, even if I marry a person who's not clean, my house will still be clean. Remember that time I'm just nobody at home with her, we're talking. And she says, okay, how are you going to do that? Okay, no, my wife is not a domestic worker. That they are domestic workers. That's a profession. There are people who do that for a living. So I will hire those people. And she laughed like, domestic worker when a child of a domestic worker, hiring a domestic worker. So I've always had a plan around it that it's not entirely about wife being clean, or if there is a means, we can always hire those people or clean after ourselves. Why should it be a wife? And we were cleaning after her anyway, and we're not her wives or husbands, we're grandchildren, children. So even if I didn't have the means, Ratanang is now 18. He would have now have started to clean after his dead and make sure. So those are the things, and that I pay attention to detail. So minute detail. So so when you say to me, come and look at this, you must know I'm going to look at that and see the smallest mistake. And not all, but if you go into a construction that was done by a construction company of a white person, you realize that out of the privileges and experiences they were exposed to, their attention to detail is much better than our attention to detail. Not because we're just clumsy or anything of that sort, but it's amount of exposure and experience and opportunities that gets to be given to us, because we may want to pay attention to detail, but we may not get opportunities to do that. And as a result, we get opportunities and then we don't do the most perfect work because of that kind of experience. So if I were to be born in the second life, I will try and be an interior deco.
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, so those things,
I can see you doing that.
I'm more into
Not
those
cattle
things.
anymore.
No, cattle I'm doing now. Cattle is I'm doing now.
I want to take it into the second life.
And I can still be interior and deco and do the
cattle on the side.
The cattle or farming because that's land. Yeah, so those are the things that if we pay attention to, and will not all be the same, we'll be able to complement each other and succeed.
And that's what you bring, I think, to the Central Command team and the team. Let's talk about building our fabulous building.
Yeah.
How passionate were you about it?
Well, I was involved.
And how hands-on were you?
Where we came to identify the building. I think you were there. And we found some small unions renting the building and all of that.
And they weren't paying our rent.
And it was, I think this is 2 buildings that were joined. And then we chose this one and we started working on it. I was involved from the beginning, had an engagement with the contractor, with the architects and everybody else who was involved. Actually, the guy who's dealing with our maintenance here in the office, we took him from the contractor. Doctor was working for the people who were... So he knows everything because he was there. And when it was time to leave, I had a discussion with him. I said, you must stay. Because someone is going to say to us, where is water being controlled from? We won't know, and all of that. So that's how I was involved. I used to come here, sit on plastic chairs with the architect and the contractor to check progress and all of that. And remember, when we took over, and that's the beauty of property, when we took over, this property was half full. It didn't have the full complement of tenants. But we were collecting almost 300,000 per month at that time. Imagine if it was a full complement and it was in good condition and all of that, would have collected clean 1.5 to 2 million, which I still believe the EFF must do. Buy the building next door, develop it, make it nice, and then rent it out to private individuals and private companies as an effective way of fundraising. Yeah, but so I was involved, and it came out very nice. So that's what I'm saying to you. I pay attention to all of those things. If I see something being done for the first time, the second time it's done, I'll be an expert in that thing. I'll tell you, but it's not done like that. That's not how they do it. Yeah, so it's like, the sound system people. You find a person.
You and sound. I don't even like doing sound check. I'm like, no.
A person is doing sound. There are wires running all over. Some dirty speakers. In a very beautiful wedding, like top. But this guy of the sound just comes and mess up people's event. So I always say to them, but if you respect your craft, when you finish with the sound, you clean it up. There's even spray. You can spray it in the next event. Before you take it out, you spray it. It still looks new and decent.
I know about spray. I didn't know.
Yeah, and you always make sure that you put the cables in a manner that are not risky to other people's lives and things like that. But, hey man, you are in a rally or you are about to speak. Right in front of you, there are a lot of wires going all over. So your mind, instead of giving a speech, they start rearranging those wires. But if we can take that one, and as a result,
there's some people who don't even see that, President. But I know you're I know to speak up.
People don't see that, and it's easy things like that which we can get them right and then be the best in our game.
Yeah, and as the communications team, I think we appreciate that bit of you, because when we want things, we just know we can come.
Absolutely.
We want new cameras, we need color runs and stuff.
When we're establishing this unit and doing these studios, we've always encouraged that, if there is the latest in the market, you comrades must be able to raise that. Yeah. We may not have the money now, but we know what communication wants. And we can't talk about state capacity, build state capacity, when there is no organizational capacity. So if there is something we use more often, why do we keep on outsourcing it? And worse, if you want the best quality of it, then you are guaranteed you are going to have to outsource it to white people. So it defeats the whole purpose. Rather invest in that thing and then buy it. I mean, we were talking, me and you, about the OB van, about satellite, about all those things. And you were telling me how expensive they are. And I said, well, let's do the quotations. It doesn't cost us anything. Put it aside and then give to the TG or the next leadership when we hand over. These were part of the plans we're having. So, those are the things that we need to do. I mean, I said, we've got, as the EFF, we've got cows. And I said to SG, we must collect as many cows as possible. Why? When you have a by-election, you want to slaughter a cow. When you've got this, you want to do this. Why not just collect these things, have a big farm of the EFF, and have the cows there, have goats, have whatever. That if you need, when you go to the traditional leadership, as part of respect and courtesy, you have to take a cow. You may not always have the cash, but if you have the cows, they will always be there, because if you have 50 cows, next year you have 100. You get 50 cows, one bull. One bull is to 25. If
To
it's
what?
not,
25?
yeah, one bull is to 25.
Bull's big.
That's
Do they
why
have
that,
like a mating season?
yes, that's why I
Oh,
like
okay.
that Equatorial Guinea man who was running around the bull of Equatorial Guinea. So you have
Oh, you had to be pokey. Wow, President.
50. You have two bulls. Next year you have 100 because they are pregnant for 9 months. Next year you have 100. And before you know it, another year, by the time we finish a term of office, we have 500 plus. So, because that's what we use all the time. So it's not only with communication. The same with the organizational development. I said, SG, we need to, and that's where my interest is now. We need to have a membership system that is internally operated, which can give us information at any time. When a person says, I'm leaving the EFF, like some Paul Morlan was saying in Tshwane, and I said, but you haven't seen this guy in a long time. Can you check in the membership system if he's a member? We just went into the system. He said, no, this one is not a member. And when we said he's not a member because he lives a lie, he goes and fetches all membership deposit receipt or something. But in our system, we're able to say, we're looking for an engineer who specializes in water or civil, whatever. We should be able to say, in the membership system of the EFF, this is what we're looking for. And then it brings up those people. And then you take the adverts from Cape Town municipality and say, they are looking for a senior engineer, civil engineering or this and that. You take that advert, you put in your membership system, you send it to the relevant people. Then these people realize that this organization is resourceful to us. I said to him, let's do the membership system. Every time it's my birthday, I remember Vodacom sends me a happy birthday message. Standard Bank sends me a happy birthday message. But I don't get EFF.
You're
happy
fighting
birthday.
with me once about
So I said,
birthday messages.
You must have a system that is able to speak to that. Because every time Vodacom sends me a message, I'm like, they know I'm a reliable customer. They did that, I think, once. Everyone was so happy. When they received the messages, they were posting them. Oh, my organization wished me happy birthday. I don't know what lapsed. So you do that. You build equally IT internal systems that are able to speak to the provinces, to the regions, sub-regions, and all branches of the EFF. You should be able to, when they show an area that children are crossing the river to go to school, by that name, you should be able to put it in the system. It must tell you is what so and so, the chairperson is so and so, the secretary is so and so, and then you communicate with them. Comrades, there is this issue. How are you dealing with it? And straight to the branch. But we want to operate as if we are our mothers and our fathers, the same way they operated, like a telegram and things are moving now. And then we have to move with the times. And the EFF, being an organization that is 11 years, led by relatively young people, it must have new ideas. It must be able to bring new way of doing things in politics and not the old way. I mean, meetings are now being held virtually and all of that. You are struggling with quorum when you want to have your meetings. Why is the virtual not incorporated into your current, meeting systems? You modernize the organization without losing organizational culture and political discipline. How do you use the latest, information to make our organization relevant and more relevant to young people. And we are favored because we are loved by students, we are loved by educated people, we are loved by middle class, and that on its own just means ideas. And we need to exploit those ideas.
Into that. Let's talk about our third National People's Assembly.
Yeah.
So you heading up our committee for that, the War Council. What was the first thing you had to do?
Well, in any event that we prepare, which is big, I always make sure that I'm the convener of that preparatory committee because of what I told you earlier, the ability to pay attention to details. So the first thing was to do what we call a checklist of what are the things that you need to have a successful NPA. Unfortunately, we are from, second NPA, so we've got some experience, but there will be new developments which must be incorporated into the checklist. And from there, after doing a checklist, you then look at who can be part of the committee that helps to prepare this important occasion of the organization. After assembling that team, you remember you assemble, send back to the officials, the leadership for more input and all of that. And then from there, you allocate them individual responsibilities. You are responsible for T-shirts, you are responsible for banners, you are responsible for transport, you are responsible for venue, accommodation, this and that. So that when there is no shuttling, we know where to go. We are not all over. Who was dealing with transport? No, you know. That's your responsibility. And when you are lacking in that, we're going to see it even before. And we remove you and put an alternative person so that we don't have the organization failed. I mean, Ivan Koza once told me that he has been around, of course, for quite some time. And he says to me, I've never seen a political organization so organized like the EFF. From when you go to their offices, you get received, packing is allocated, you get escorted to where you are going. When you arrive, proper reception, the leadership comes. You think it's the office, you go to their events, same thing. In other organizations, we have to run around the stadium to know which one is an entrance, and then you are being chased away, not this side, that side, and all of that. So he says, the order I've seen in the EFF, I've never seen it anywhere. And the reason why he says so, he's just being modest about it because that's what PSL is. Him and the Kaiser Mutaung have professionalized football of black people. The sports of black people is so professionalized. I've never, in my few years of life, seen a situation where they say a PSL game is starting at 3 o'clock and it starts at 3:01. No. 3 o'clock, they blow a whistle. It's going to start. Whether the stadium is full, whether this or that, logistically, everything is in order. 3 o'clock is going to start. So, because of him, look at the 2010 World Cup. Ivan Koza was the chair of the local organizing committee. Everything was done beautifully. We still have good memories and the legacy of that kind. So I've got almost, respect for him for such things. And I sometimes learn from him as to how certain things are done in such a way that they don't embarrass us. So that's what we did with the NPA. So the NPA is the highest decision-making body of the EFF. Only the NPA can change the constitution of the EFF. So, and the constitution is not changed or amended in a reckless manner. So there will be constitutional amendment proposals. Some come through organizational redesign. Some come from political overview or political report, organizational report, treasurer's report, and all of that. And then we say, okay, let's look at areas that can be changed. You can't change it being one province. You'll need 2 extra provinces just for that amendment to serve in the National People's Assembly, not to change the constitution. For it to qualify to serve, it must get 3 provinces or so. If we missed that and it gets to be raised from the floor, it will have to be a 2/3 of the floor that says it must serve on the agenda, not that we must amend. It must serve on the agenda, then the debate must start as to what informs this kind of a discussion. So, and then that NPA is done through the opening national anthem, then the prayers. And then from there, it will be a welcome address by the provincial chairperson. And then from there, it will be credentials as to who is before us here. So credentials will account for voting, non-voting delegates. It will account for guests, both locally and internationally. And we will need almost 70% of the expected branch delegates to be present for us to start. If they are not there, the quorum is not being reached and we have a problem. And then from there, after we adopt the credentials, that can be done depending on the logistical arrangement, can be done before or even after the political report. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So the president will then give a report of what happened for the past 5 years, politically, economically, international relations, and all of that. Then from there, before you move into organizational report, okay, you're going to have messages of support, locally and internationally. They can be done before, after the credentials. Really, they don't matter. But you cannot present the organizational report before you present the credentials, because you might be presenting organizational report to bogus delegates who are not real, genuine delegates of the EFF. So you ought to say, the people before you here is the following. And these are the people. Then the conference itself adopt those credentials and say, we are properly constituted. That's when you're going to present organizational report and treasurer's report, which both are done in a closed session. Because that's where members must critique themselves. When you critique your own organization, you are critiquing yourself. But if you do it in an open public space, they confuse that for internal fights.
Proper.
Yeah, they say, no, you see, they are fighting, they can't do what, debating. Or no, but you said you're going to build a school.
Yeah,
you didn't build a school, and you said,
you must go
if you don't build a school, we must not re-elect you. A freedom which they still enjoy, because we didn't build a school. If they want to remove us, they are more than free to remove us. But they must know that our term is effectively 3 years. We were robbed 2 years by COVID. We could not do anything and only get to move after. Because right after the conference, we had to deal with those challenges of COVID. But the branches will look into that. The branches will look into the treasurer's report. The treasurer's report is not financial report. So it includes financial report. So it will include the assets of the organization. It will include the commitments the organization have made. It will include all manner of things that have got to do with the sustainability of the organization, including the finances of the organization. So there is a difference between financial report and treasurer's report. That's why we don't have a financial clerk, we have a treasurer, because it's much bigger than that. And members will again get an opportunity to engage with that. Then after that, we'll then break into commissions to discuss what are the possible program of actions for the EFF for the next 5 years. So resolutions, those resolutions will then lead into program of action. Because now you've got a clear idea of where you are. Taking it from here, how do we take it forward? And a lot of time is going to be spent on the commissions. Because that's why we break into smaller groups. And a lot of people are able to express themselves freely when groups become smaller and smaller. So we allow members to equally express themselves robustly and freely. The commissions are also closed session. So the media can come in to take pictures, photo op and all of that. From there, they have to leave. Only the EFF cameras will remain for archives. Why? Again, to protect the organization from a misperception that a robust internal debate means a fight. So we need to protect the organ. They must go out so that we remain boxing each other. And then when we leave there, we're done with our issues, we open the session for commissions to come and report in public, that which we discussed in private. But the manner in which we went about it is not for public consumption because it might be misconstrued to mean we're fighting. So you do that, and then you do elections. Elections is one small item that gets to be done quickly.
And it takes so much of our attention. For the media. No,
for everyone who doesn't know how conference works, they are obsessed with that item. It's not the business of the conference. It's one of the business of the conference. So there will be an independent electoral commission that is going to call for nominations from the floor. That is done in the open. Media will be there and all of that. They will tell us through the numbers that we have adopted, through the credentials, how many do you need for you to qualify. And then you'll be nominated from the floor. And if that position has got more than one name, then it means elections. Elections are done in secret. Nominations are done in the open. Like in the previous NPA, we almost had a contestation between the two people who left now. They now pretend to be loving each other more than anything, but I had to come in between them and make sure I diffuse the potential tension and have a successful, NPA. And one of them, one of these people did not reach a threshold. And today they are the best buddies. And it's a nice thing to. It's not a nice thing. It's a nice thing to watch from a distance as to what is really going to happen on the other side, because we have had to manage it here, and a lot of people don't know what we have had to go through, because it had the potential to polarize conference and mess it up. But we had to prevail, and we did very well. So we have always exercised democracy.
I'm getting goosebumps with you saying that, because that transition president, I don't think it must ever go just under the carpet. But you had contestation from, and
deputy president. There was an acceptance.
We went, not that evening.
There was acceptance for deputy president contestation. There was no threshold. There was acceptance for secretary general. and there was no threshold. In other organizations, when such things happen, the conference collapses. People start singing songs against each other, pointing each other with fingers. And when we finished, the results were announced. Those who were contesting and those who won. Not contesting, those who failed to contest but had intention to contest, and those who won. We all went into a social evening all together. And if you were to look at what happened at night and what happened during the day when it was a bit tense, you'll be shocked. That's the political maturity within which we've handled succession in the EFF. From the first NPA. I mean, some of the people who are leading the EFF today were amongst the people who were banning EFF t-shirts at the first NPA. Mampuru. Today is the national organizer of the EFF. But because we don't punish people, we were corrective in nature, and we saw that they were expressing their own frustrations and all of that. Today they are here leading the organization. Imagine had we not managed that, just first NPA, with such maturity and navigated the dynamics of such NPA, it would have collapsed from the beginning. So we're going into this with a much more well-oiled machinery, and majority of which experienced on how to handle contestation and to tolerate one another. And then we're talking NPA. We forget that there's been so many PPAs. There's been so many RPAs. So all of these people now are now aware, because many of them were actually joining politics for the first time with the EFF, including you.
Yeah, I remember how you left me there to do that Joburg RPA. Do you remember?
Yeah.
I was
But
so mad with
when you called me to join the EFF, I was on my way to Johannesburg, and I just received a call, and the lady is speaking. I'm like, yeah, no, I want to join. Let me come back to you, all right? Okay. When I drop, I tell the person next to me, there's some white woman who called me, yes, says he wants to join the EFF. Can you see the infiltration is starting now? Until I met you, and I was like, oh, it's not a white woman. So from that to now, we don't get in a shocked manner. We are going through a particular period as the organization where the organization cleans itself, renews itself, and there's nothing you can do about it. And we want, in one of the political overviews, that it is going to be a year. No, there's going to be a period of madness where people act in a crazy way and you're all like shocked. But it's called a political season. It's a political season of madness. It comes and goes. And if you are not careful or grounded, it will go away with you. So it's like a festive season. You know, fools spend all their money on Christmas Day. Buy all types of things and champagnes and what. January, they don't have money for petrol to go back to Johannesburg because they didn't know that they were within a season of craziness and they were supposed to rise above that situation. Politically, we go through that. It's our Christmas season. So you ought to be very careful not to spend all your money on this, because there is January coming. Kids want a school uniform. So as it unfolds, at the beginning it was a bit difficult. But the politics that we have consumed now have helped us to come back into political realities that, oh, by the way, these things happen. But we are human. We ought to go through shock and pain at first before political consciousness kicks in. So it's like how you deal with racism. If a white man was to walk in here all of us in this room, our body language is going to change, that the real person has walked in. Until your consciousness comes back, man, what do you want? Can we help you? Because we're brought up to think. So we need leadership that is alive to those things. So, and we need a membership that is equal to the task. Not a membership that every time that which the leadership has warned about and prepared us happens, we become extremely shocked, like we've never been warned about that. Like we have said to the membership of the EFF, we coexist with them. They are amongst us, and we're not going to do anything to them, even when we know they will on their own leave. As that happens, you forgot all of that speech we have given. You remember the moment now. So, to engage in a revolution is the most difficult task. And it depends on longevity. The success of the revolution depends on how long are you going to sustain this thing. Because you must not suffer from political masturbation. And you think revolution is like masturbation. It's coming.
You're even doing hand movements,
yes,
President.
there is no such.
You're gonna write
And the
this
revolution, no, you don't edit nothing. The revolution is never like that. No, you can rate it, but but joking. The revolution is not. You have to work, and you have to go through this. I ask all the time, had we not had Nelson Mandela agreed to the conditions which were given to him when he arrived in Robben Island, we wouldn't be where we are. Because they said to him, we can release you. The only thing that you have to do is to denounce the revolution. O.R. Tambo, in exile, can't live a normal life. The whole successful black lawyer throw away his career for us to be where we are. He never said in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years, if this thing doesn't happen, I'm throwing it away. No, he stayed the course. And here we are. Winnie Mandela, the woman that fought and kept the fires burning when our leaders were in prison, when our leaders were in exile, when our leaders were underground. She kept the fires burning, got humiliated, violated, harassed by the police, never gave up on the cause, got arrested and put in an isolated cell alone. She tells you a story that to a point where she was starting to explain to the ants, because the only thing that was moving in her cell was ants. She started talking to the ants. She never, in that conversation with the ants, said, I'm going to quit this thing. The minute they opened the year, I'm going to quit. No, she became more resolute. And what is even worse about Winnie Mandela is that when democracy came, the violation continued. The humiliation continued. The people that she thought were her comrades isolated her and dealt with her to an extent that they even wanted to imprison her. So we grew under her. We respected her, we saluted her, the woman we named this building after. But at the back of our minds and in our hearts, we always knew that Winnie Mandela is hated by white people. She's not wanted, but people misunderstand her, she's correct, because we're fed that lie. And when Winnie died, I never cried. I went to her house because I went to see her at the hospital and all of that. And I knew she was sick. When she died, I never cried. I cried when we were on the N1 to Four Ways. It was raining. And then the people who were going to the south and were going north stopped the cars because the N1 north was blocked for the procession. And then the N1 South was open. People on their own stopped their cars under heavy rain. took pictures, waved at her and all of that. And when we turned into Winnie Mandela Drive, William Nicole, we found long queues of people standing on the sides of the roads, black and white, including black kids waving their last goodbyes. That's when I cried, because I was told this person is not loved by anyone. Kids under heavy rains, whites with privilege, they had nothing, no reason, none whatsoever, to get out of their comfortable houses to come and wave at her under heavy rains, because people know their leaders. Yeah. Had Winnie given up on the struggle, wouldn't be where we are. You, the young women who look up to her, who say we have multiplied, you will not have seen the need to join the struggle. Actually, they would have used her to scare you guys. And it's not only her, there are many women like that. I mean, I was watching one interview of Thandi Modise, and the interviewer just missed an opportunity to ask her about her prison life. She gave birth in prison. How do you have Thandi Modise in an interview and you miss an opportunity to say to her, explain to this young women and young people of South Africa as to what did women go through in the struggle, in prison, in exile? She gave birth. And I don't know, but all of us would have wanted our children to be born in a particular comfortable spaces. And if it happens to you like that, the first thing would be that when I live here, I'm concerned about the health of my child. I must concentrate on my family. Look at what this thing has done now. I give birth to children inside prison. The immediate thing would have been to quit. These people I'm telling you about are people that I know intimately, and I've had an opportunity to learn from them. Peter Mokaba was reported as a spy, sent into exile to go and explain by his own peers and his own comrades. And without any amount of evidence, he was just painted as spy, and then Stratcom went on him the same way they went on Winnie and all of that. And the leadership in exile could not find any evidence. And therefore, they released him. But what it meant to say Peter was a spy to a point where he had to be called to exile to come and explain. If he was found guilty, he was going to be sent to Quattro. And he was going to be executed because the ANC was executing its own, that it has declared sellouts, spies. So Peter knew the price, that I don't even think they had any investigative capacity. Now they just look at you, take a like on you or take a dislike on you, and say, this one must go to a firing squad. Peter could have been killed. Even with that humiliation, violation, he continued the struggle. To a point that, like Winnie, he died without being anything significant, despite the fact that you cannot talk the history of liberation in South Africa and take out young people, especially from 1985 until the unbanning of the ANC. And that happened under Peter Mokaba's stewardship. He was a leader of that youth which O.R. Tambo called the Young Lions. So when you look at those people, you just know that it is bound to happen. And this madness must not consume you. But we're human beings. Do you have a family support? Do you have comrades who support you? Otherwise, they can consume you. And you drown in alcohol and drugs and all that, those types of things. And you just become one of those people who were once there. Yeah. I don't know which question I was answering now.
You answered a lot. No, but we were talking about NPA preparations and our transitions from first and second and third and all that. But also, I think it's important to note, the media, and the paid media actually have been, we collapsing. And it's not the first time.
We were
because
collapsing the
in
day we were
2014
formed.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
2014, immediately after our MPA, we were collapsing
Yeah.
too. Remember,
Yes.
they were like, your financials, your
Yeah,
bank accounts.
yeah.
And it was so,
Yeah, and
we
then
must just, we have a historical account.
there was
of,
some person who worked in your office
Oh, yet you
who
remember.
stole the bank
gave out the
statements and
balloy.
what and yeah.
And gave it. And
So,
it was supposed to be the end
that
of
and
it. Yeah.
and what is interesting that you're bringing that up, actually it was Gaten who was
And
pushing that narrative of us dying
with Andy.
with Andile Mqitama and those bank statements. Interestingly, it's the same Gaten now who says what Zuma has achieved, what all of us failed to achieve in the past 10 years by finishing this EFF. I'm like, but this loser is nowhere anywhere close to us politically. Not in maybe gangsterism, which he says he's good at, or those things of prison and all of that. He might be good on that one. But politically, he is no one. And I understand Gaten's problems because, he pretends all happy. Everybody gets confused to say the happiest minister in GNU. He smiles and all of. But if you look deep into him, he's using that to close down his own traumas. I mean, if you want to know how Gaten thinks, there is no way. Prison has got its own traumas.
For sure.
You go and look at, you listen to Gaten, and then you go and look at the podcast of Scheme GP where he interviews ex-prisoners. And they explain those traumas. You're like, huh? There's no way this one survived those things. So he pretends to be happy, but as he sits home alone, his demons visit him. And he wish he was like us. He will never be us. He's nowhere close to us politically, and he's no one to declare the death of the EFF. I mean, personally, there's your research back office must go and find that picture. There is a picture of a coffin carried in my township, written, "Rest in peace, Julius Malema." And that was what hurt my grandmother the most, that how do people buy a coffin for a person who's still alive? Maybe still to come again, that coffin. So you are not talking to the real person here. You are talking to a ghost in terms of my haters. They've long buried me. I shouldn't be here. And this, what is happening now, can intimidate me, can shock me. I can't be threatened by Zuma. No, I defeated Zuma. Zuma thought he buried me, expelled me from the ANC for comparing him with Thabo Mbeki, for saying there is a regime change which happened in Botswana now. I was guilty for that. I was expelled from the ANC by Zuma, and Ramaphosa was used as an instrument. So Zuma, my encounter with Zuma is not for the first time that it is the way it is now. He's inviting me back to fight with him, and I will do it, and I will do it with ease. I'm not scared of Zuma or all of his people who are working with him. There is no way anyone is going to threaten the existence of the EFF, and that person becomes a friend. Yes. It will be a lie. We'll be lying to ourselves. People keep on stepping you at the back, and then when they meet you in public, they want to be smiling and all of that. No. Keep your distance. Let's just know we are not together. Let's do our own separate things, and let's build our own organizations. We wish everyone well. Let them go and do whatever they want to do. Many of them are known for laziness anyway. They are not of any political currency. We had to carry them, but it's an organization. Yeah. It is what it is. It has to be like that. And what is very unfortunate, this thing is staggered. So, because if it's done at the same time, it will not be newsworthy. It will be that week and it's done. So it's done every week. so I've got a list. I just told you before we started. There's another one next week. You will see for yourself. And I'm happy if it happens before you broadcast this thing. You'll have to come and update it that no, I want you in the discussion, and this is the real situation. So everything else that has been happening, I've been aware of it. I was only shocked by Floyd, but the rest never shocked me. Some have even went to ask in Parliament, if they leave Parliament now, how much will they get? And the most stupid thing, they even asked my PA in Parliament to go and check for them. What is their package? They tell Pendu, go and check. So as they come here, see, I'm just looking at them. Oh, you're waiting to cash out my guy.
I remember I called you once because I was traumatized. I'm like, so how does this president sift through all the, because you're going to get misinformation, people will also just peddle stuff, and then I go crazy.
So you don't, and that's what political maturity means. You don't go on a witch hunt.
Yeah, that's
no. But you ought to be very careful who you assign which responsibility, so that you don't set yourself up for failure, but know them for who they are. And my son is 18 now, so we argue a lot. I always tell him, look, this one is going to go this way. And then he will be the first one to wake up in the morning. Hey, you are correct. So and so is gone. What? So I know them. But I will never leave my glass empty. My glass with them. And say, I'm going to take a phone call or go to a bathroom and leave a glass with them. No, I can't. I can't do that. And you know what is so shocking is that they operate as if they are smarter than us. Floyd says, and he's not lying, Floyd says there are people who knew that he was leaving, and they begged him not to tell me. But they knew, and it's true. They told me after, some of them, some of your favorites. I called them, I said, come here.
Pokey again.
And then I say, did you know Floyd is leaving? He says, yes. For how long did you know? He says, no, it's 2 weeks now. So why didn't you tell me? No, I didn't see a need to tell you. And then Floyd gets asked the same question. Why didn't you see a need to tell Julius? Says, they respond the same way. I didn't see the need to inform him. Why would you say you care about the EFF? That's not what I'm saying to them. But why would you say you care for the EFF? You get told such a sensitive information, and you don't bring it to the attention of the leadership that, look, there is this thing. I'm not sure how true it is, but it's going to happen. And I said, okay, but what was your advice when that happened? I asked him if his mother prayed for him. I asked him if he prayed about it. And that's it. And then we must still come, Leanne. We're human beings, man. Come on. We must still come and still be like, we're sharp, we're fine, we're together.
You have your human
no, but
you do
organizationally, you come, you do your work, and then you go your separate ways. And I get information from their own people on the other side, factual. That's why I've never seen a need to go witch hunt anyone and all of that. No, I tell the SG, there might be this possibility. SG, there might be this possibility. So it's the second highest. I can only share that information with him so that when it happens, I don't claim, no, I knew, but I didn't, but you see, it's lying now. So I had to bounce it with someone. And I liked what Godrich said. when Floyd said some of them knew and asked me not to tell. Godrich says, if you had told me, even if it's a joke, I would have told the president or the leadership that you made this kind of a joke. Floyd writes into his DM, says, why are you not asking me who said that and you tweet the things you are tweeting? Ask me. I'll tell you. And then I said to Godrich, leave those things. We're fine. We don't want to hear more damaging.
And then what's what?
Yeah, so we don't want to be
But that would have been a hard thing, though, President. And I say this to you, for us to, like, even if I knew, not that I did, but to come, like, because it was him. And he's leaving, and how?
But I was told by Vuyani. Why was it not difficult? Vuyani told me.
What, before? Yeah,
before. Vuyani told me, said the information came on Monday from these sources. So I thought it was NPA. So I went to check it. And then it is now confirmed that this guy is leaving. You're going to be receiving a letter in the next few hours or so. As he speaks, I open my phone. I put him on the speaker and I open my phone. Floyd's letter is in my WhatsApp. I was told
but
by
if
Vuyani.
It didn't come, would you have still been sure? You wouldn't have felt like, okay, this...
I would have confronted him.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because you know me, you can't lie.
Yes, we know.
I even called immediately. I said, Leanne says you are going to MK.
So you even called me and asked me if I was crying there in the meeting.
Yeah, I asked you because Floyd says there were people who were crying. So I don't know who was crying.
And I'm the cry baby.
Yeah.
I was suspect number one. Okay, please, let's just finish. Are there any amendments that you are going to raise that you'd like amended in the Constitution? Or do you think that we should amend?
I've seen a lot in the constitutional, in the organizational redesign. But the one that I feel strong about is the one of regions. I don't see the need for regions because the regional leadership just carries its weight around. But it doesn't have the immediate constituency or a responsibility to deal with. And most of these people who are called regional chair, regional one, are actually not known for their political activism where they come from, in their sub-regions and all of that. They are just good lobbyists who move from their sub-region to lobby other sub-regions which don't know them and their behavior. Then they come and call themselves a region and elect a factionalist of note to be a regional leader. So why not just bring everything into sub-region? Because if you say, or a zone, if you say Polokwane sub-region, we know each other. We know each other. We know the Mangwen cluster, Muleji cluster, Seshego cluster, Matala cluster, and all of. We know each other. We're here. Our local dynamics are almost the same. There's no water in Polokwane. We all don't have water in Polokwane. And when we fight for water, we know who are the people here who are leading us to fight for water and all kinds of things. So we inherited the ANC structure as is and did not make amendments and take what worked for the ANC and what did not work for the ANC. So I think the sub-regions will be more effective because they will have direct contact. Of course, from the provincial command team, there will be people who are assigned to a particular region to look after all those sub-regions there. But this thing of just moving around thinking you're going to be a mayor, you're going to be a councillor.
Your metros are going to fight.
Yeah, it's good, but let them bring it on. Because even in the metros, we've got zones. So we will operate through zones. And if you are a good leader, it doesn't matter whether you are region or province or anything.
We can do that.
You can always be a leader.
Okay, thank you, President. Let's talk about, just quickly, conferences. Our delegates stay until the end, and they even come to our closing, well, for the past two assemblies we don't see that in other political parties.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Our delegates are inspired. They are energetic. They are political. They're looking forward to see what is the outcome of the conference. Not only the conference, the rally. Most political parties, their rallies struggle to correct, and then when they correct, once they start, people leave. When the president speaks, it's even worse. But with the EFF, there is no such a thing. And we're coming second after ZCC. In ZCC, you find millions of people in one place. So as you enter the church, you think, there's no good turn up, and there are no people. There are people there inside, seated, millions of people, discipline. And there is that element in the EFF. And, if we can master it to a ZCC level, we will have extremely huge rallies. Because you find the people inside the stadium are equal the number the people outside the stadium. So the level of discipline in the EFF, that's what inspires a lot of us. And the level of discipline is what actually gives some of us as leaders hope that this thing will live forever, because there are people who live it, who love it, who can't do anything. They just want to be the EFF. They defend it to the extreme. At times you even realize it's not necessary. Like,
take a chill
but
pill.
that's how they feel about the organization. So the discipline in the EFF is extremely amazing. And look at the kind of the criteria we used now. 10% election outcome determines if a branch will qualify to have a delegate or not, which means you are going to have quality branches, not just riff-raff. No, quality branches that come from the hard-working membership of the organization. And you can't be hard-working and produce a mediocre delegate who's going to embarrass you at the NPA.
Okay, in closing, let's talk about unity.
What?
Unity.
Yeah.
And how they are, they're saying leftist political parties must unite and they must be together. Talk to us about that, President.
We agree. We agree.
And who must?
All the left forces must come together. All the progressive forces must come together. But it must not be done in a criminalized manner, in a syndicate manner, as if it's an operation. You know what I like about Dali is that there was a meeting of the opposition parties which was called by Zuma. And I said, I'm not going. So I asked Floyd and Marshall to attend the SG. They went and Dali was there. Dali went to make a presentation of a paper in that first meeting where he said the EFF must close down with the other parties and then form something under Zuma's leadership. I mean, things happen the way they happen. I mean, Floyd and Marshall, you know him, he's just there and he speaks when it is necessary. But Floyd is the one who was leading the discussion. Who said, no ways, it's not going to happen, and all of that. And then he comes back extremely shocked that Dali is not only proposing it, he has written it down. He has had time to think about it and wrote it down. So I said, no. So then we agreed that we must meet, all parties must go consult their leadership, blah, blah. What is our position? I said, but that's madness. We can't do that. We closed the EFF to Zuma. Not 1 year. It was not even formed at that time. To what? Like, to do what? I don't understand that. Then perhaps Dali realizes they are not doing a good job. He comes himself to me. One day we were all there as the officials in the 5th floor. He says, no, he wants to see me. I said, no, sharp, come. But I knew what he was going to tell me. So I brought Floyd and I brought Marshall into the meeting. And then he said that. He says, so I told him, no, it's not going to happen. I don't agree with that. And there's no EFF that is going to close shop. In his skillful way, you know, him said, okay, plus we are late now in the elections. Maybe after the elections, we can engage about it again. I said, no problem. And then, again, Floyd and Marshall went back to the meeting to give their party structures a position. They came back and said to me, the president of ATM, Zungula, said, of all of us here, parties, the only party with a national footprint, which is properly established with machinery, is the EFF. Let's collapse this thing. Let's collapse all of us into the EFF. All of us, I was in that meeting. That president of the PAC was there. I don't know if Carl Neos was there or what. They were all there. I still refuse. I said, I'm not going. I'm not part. I don't agree with that. And then, that's what they said. Zungula is the one who said, actually, the EFF is the way. Then Zuma responded and said, no. Can you imagine an old person voting for EFF? These old people will never agree to vote for the EFF. And he told them the footprint of how if we come together, we're going to get the votes from where and all of that. And then after the second meeting, we came back. Then they said, no, Zuma wants to see me. 4 eyes. I said, no problem, I'll go. Dali says he's going to come, but I already know what Dali is up to. So I bring Vuyani. I said, Vuyani, let's go together. No, when we entered the meeting, President Zuma asked me to stay in the meeting with him. And then Dali and some other chubby guy, I can't remember what was his name, but he came from President Zuma's side, and Vuyani asked them to excuse us so that we can have a discussion. So I remained with President Zuma. He started making that presentation and all of that. But Floyd told me that in the first meeting, Zuma addressed them for 3 hours. In the second meeting, it was relatively better. He addressed them for 2 hours. So I said, how do you allow that? They say, hey, we're thinking maybe General will stop him or something. Hey, but we sit there and just listen. I said, no problem. So when they said he wants to see me, 10, 15 minutes into the discussion, I interjected him because at the back of my mind was like you're not going to address me for 2 hours. It's not going to happen. Not 3 hours. I said, no, Baba, but I was thinking, you endorse the EFF. And then after endorsing the EFF, we'll have a proper discussion because we are now late, just on the eve of the elections. And then we can talk about what are the issues that you want us to take up in the immediate and all of that. And then he said, well, it's too late because I'm launching a party on the 16th of December. And I think we're like 2 weeks, 3 weeks before that. Hard luck. But let's take up this discussion after the elections. The meeting ended. If it took long, it's 20 minutes. We're done. And then we opened the door for those guys to come back. They were all like, so quick. I was like, no, we know what we want. Because it was not going to happen. And I don't regret our position that which we took against President Zuma at the time. And this I asked Floyd if he thinks he has forgiven us for what we have done to him. I don't think he has forgiven us for that. And it doesn't matter, but we were not misled. We're not misled. Everything else we articulated, it was a correct position. of the EFF, and it remains the correct position of the EFF. Having developed those positions around Zuma as the EFF, we now say this guy must now be our leader. We can't agree to that. We can't agree to that. So, and that's the thing I respect about Dali, because he has been open about it. He has been speaking about it, and one day, when I write a book, I will have a lot of stories to tell, even on how Dali became Zuma's lawyer on some of these matters. So, so this morning, when I woke up to the news, I was like, it is what it is. Yeah, so he has sent me a message. First, he sent me a message about the birthday of his daughter turning 21st. So I didn't respond because I could see what Dali was doing. So I knew if he sends me invitation to a 21st birthday party, it means he has sent to everyone, which means we're all going to be united under Dali's leadership. And then he's going to project himself as this guy who brought all of them under one roof. So I said, no, I'm not responding because I'm not going there. And then he sent me now a text a few days after that he wants to see me urgently because he knows Parliament is in recess. He can come to the office, or I go to his house, or he comes to my house. I didn't respond. And because we are so used to this now, my wife says to me, he wants to say his goodbyes. No. I'm not good for. I'm not good for goodbyes. So
to the end of
I'm fine. I don't want. So let him do what he wants to do. So we respect his decision, and there's nothing we can do about it. He has been there. I know of the work they've been doing. I know of the work he has been doing and all of that. So this has never been a shock to me. It was just about when is it about to happen. It's going to happen anytime, but we just don't know when. So it eventually happened, and we're fine.
Perfect. Thank you for our first episode of our special broadcast president, the outgoing president. So if you're going to get nominated there.
So when you say outgoing president, you are right. And it of all these political parties that claim to be democratic, we are the only organization after the ANC which goes to a conference and the president gets to be told your term of office has ended. Please, thank you very much, leave the stage to go and join others. In between that pronouncement and the election of the new president, the EFF does not have president. So, and that's what succession means. So anything can happen. The good lobbyist can come in between that space and lobby nicely and get a completely new president. That's why when I'm elected president of the EFF, I'm not called the re-elected president of the EFF. They say the newly elected president because you are only president for that term. And when they say you are new, they mean your mandate is new. You've got a new mandate. And only a democratic organization will do that. Look at, we've got all these problems that are going on now. This one is going to leave after the conference. This one. A dictator will have all the reasons to say, no, let's not go to a conference and see how this thing goes about. You can justify your stay by using the current, dynamics. Another dictator can come and say, our term is 5 years. We only served 3 years because the other 2 years, there was COVID. So you need to extend our term with 2 years so that we can have our full 5 years and implement our mandate. But we don't do that because we know dictators at all, not because we're seeking to convince them. They know we're not. We're the most democratic organization, but very decisive. And that doesn't allow ill-discipline. Because of the order and discipline, they say we're dictators. But none, Herman Mashaba, with the Bunny from the Oppenheimers, no conference. Gaten Mackenzie, Mapantiti, no conference. Zuma, MKP, no conference. You can go on and on. None of them hold a conference. And they are not pretentious about it. Yeah. They don't say, maybe we'll see it. They say, no, there's not going to be any conference here. They are not called dictators. But ourselves who go to be held accountable, political report, organizational report, treasurer's report, accountable. You are being held accountable. And then get to be subjected to re-election if you are available and still lose. Yet you are called a dictator because they want to delegitimize, the EFF. Helen Zille makes it very clear. The white monopoly capital said we must protect Ramaphosa against the EFF. And she goes further to say there are only two political parties in South Africa. It's the EFF and the DA. Because our policy positions are very clear and we do not agree. And she's right. I think as she gets old, she starts telling the truth raw as it is, and it's not good for them, but she's just talking and telling the truth the way it is. Why should Ramaphosa be protected from the EFF and not the rest of these other political parties? Yeah. Why do they form all political parties, and all these political parties are formed to fight the EFF, including Rise Muzanzi? I mean, that guy, you can confuse him for some receptionist there in parliament. He doesn't even look like it doesn't look like a member of parliament, doesn't inspire anything. He gets given 30 million plus to issue SMSs that don't vote for EFF. They are rude, they are disrespectful. Why would you spend so much money to write such absolute nonsense? So you cannot falter the EFF ideologically, politically, and organizationally. That's why you try to find peripheral issues. You say, what is revolutionary about saying Zuma has got double-deck head? It's double-deck. What must we do? It's political humor. It's a political humor. When you say Ramaphosa has got a big nose, it's a political humor. But because you don't have humor, you're cold, you never give even a firm handshake or a firm hug. You want all of us to be cold. It's a political humor. There's nothing, no one has ever argued that it is ideological or political. No, a political speech is not a lecture in a lecture hall or a lecture room. It has to keep people alive and people continue to eat from your hand. As they're still paying attention on these peripheral issues, you hit on real issues and then make them understand. So you simplify them like that. And then someone wants to come and sound more ideological and political. And then say, no, we're calling body parts. I've never called a white female journalist with an F word. I've never done that. I've never said to an Indian, a Muslim journalist, you are drunk. I've never done that. With all my political activism, I threw stones at the school, at the teachers during protest and all of that. I've never taken a knife against my principal and chased the principal or a teacher around the schoolyard. And what's revolutionary about that? Yeah. So it is peripheral issues that, because you can't falter, you say, no, we must not call body parts. You can't tell us what to say. No one can tell us what to say. Is it constitutional Does it violate the constitution, or is it a political speak or a political speech? If it falls within political speech, what's your problem? Go on with your coldness. We are warm. We make things happen.
On that note, are you available?
Yes,
For
if
which
I'm nominated
position? Yeah, I'm saying.
in that conference,
Yeah.
I will accept nomination.
For which position?
I don't know they will nominate me for which position. I
Yes.
will accept that position. But even if they don't elect me, I've served. I'll continue to be a member of the EFF. I'll go back to my farm and do farming, which I'm doing now as a student part-time. I'll do it full-time then.
Oh, I didn't know.
Not a student as in
I thought you there
registered. No.
thing. Oh, you mean,
So whatever, that's why I don't professionalize it in that sense of buying quality, born smart female cows, born smart bulls for this much. No, I buy cheap because I'm learning, so that when I leave, I've got something to do. You know why politicians stay until they're 82 years and 83 years and can't look after their grandchildren? It's because they don't know what to do after politics. When you ask them to leave, they ask you an honest question. Where must I go? What am I going to do after this? So I don't want to have that problem. That's why small, I'm learning, so that by the time you, comrades, say it's time to go, I know where I'm going. So, and another mistake we make, not you, mistake we make, is that you get a pension payout when you leave, and you start farming with your pension money, which means you start learning farming with your pension money. By the time you perfect farming, the money is gone. Because how do you start with your pension money? The pension money is not for that. You must learn it now, gradually as it goes, and then over a period of time, when you go on pension, you know I'm a G on this subject. I can pay attention on this issue. So I do that because I'm not going to die EFF president. The young ones are coming to take it over. And it will be, it's so exciting, watching Naledi, watching Cic, watching our councillor there in Mpumalanga, Mafia. Doing the things that we were doing when we were young, and you're like, these guys are going to take this thing and they'll be able to run with it. Another constitutional amendment, which I feel very strong about, is the formation of the Youth Command. And the formation of the Youth Command does not mean the collapse of the Student Command. It means the Student Command structures collapse into the Youth Command, and we continue as is. The same way the ANC Youth League does it, because I find that to be the most workable way of doing things, so that you don't have the two organizations of young people competing for a space. They need to be organized in the village, in the township, in the suburb, in the schools, in the workplace, everywhere else where they are found. And these young people that we look up to now, they can carry this thing. They will be able to be the second and the third layer leadership of the EFF. And it's a duty of a leader, by the way, to produce other leaders. And then when you produce these leaders and you sit back, you know that which I represented, these comrades, are continuing with it. And the other thing in fostering that unity and continuity and change in the EFF, one other mistake we do is to take our comrades and our colleagues into our homes. The political enviness and the political jealousy is too much. And it's one of the things that leads into, divisions. A person just start being angry at you and not wanting you. Kanti, you didn't do anything. You took them to your home. There is a guy called Bruno Mtolo who hated Mandela and Sisulu and turned against them in prison because he went to their homes and said, these guys live like English men. The way they dress, their homes and this and that. So, uncle of Vuyani passes on, and one of the commissars, some commissars go there. And one of them, unwittingly, unaware, Vuyani's uncle, they stay in the township, the Deep Kloof, the blacks, people there in Deep Kloof, they're proper people in proper houses. Vuyani doesn't stay there. Vuyani's home is a different home. Those comrades see Vuyani's uncle's home and say, people are living. Eh? Look at that. And then he gets hated from that.
Just because.
I think one of the advices I will give you, let's keep it professional. Let's not expose each other to our homes because these people are not wishing you well. They wish they were you, and I mean, they can have everything they want to have under the sun, but they decided to be defocused and do their own things, and you focus. Same time, same hours with them, and you achieve more because you are focused and they are not focused. Then they use that to attack you. And when you embrace them, bring them into your home, bring them into your lives, and say, these are your brothers, and then they step you at the back, you must not use that to judge on others. But you must just know that you ought to be very careful around who you bring into your life and who you bring into your homes. It doesn't matter. You can share the same political perspective. We have only one home where we can meet. That's Winnie Mandela's headquarters. That's where we can meet. Thank you.
Wise words, and it's a wrap.